Mira lived in a small wooden house on the edge of a quiet village. The village lay between long fields, old trees, and gentle hills. It was the kind of place where every person knew the habits of every other person, and every rumor moved faster than the wind. When Mira walked through the streets, she often heard people whispering behind her. They said her father had left her nothing when he passed away. They said he had no land, no gold, no savings, and no hidden treasure. They said he worked hard all his life, but never collected anything of value. Mira heard these words many times, and even though they hurt, she stayed calm. She never fought back because she believed the same thing. Her father had lived a simple and quiet life. He cared more about kindness than money. He taught her that a person was rich only if they carried honesty and courage inside their heart. After her father passed away, Mira stayed in the house he had built with his own hands. She slept in the room where her childhood memories still lived. She cooked in the kitchen where he used to tell stories while stirring soup. She sat near the window where he would drink tea after long days of work. The house was old, but full of warmth. It gave Mira comfort, but at the same time, it reminded her that she was alone now. She worked small jobs in the village to earn money. She cleaned houses for some families, helped at the bakery during busy evenings, and sometimes taught children how to read simple words. The work was tiring, but Mira never complained. Every evening, Mira sat on the front steps of her house. She watched the sky change its colors. She listened to birds returning to their nests. She thought about her father and wished she could speak to him one more time. She missed his calm voice and the way he always found gentle answers for difficult problems. She missed the way he patted her head when she was sad. Sometimes she felt as if his presence still lived in the corners of the house, watching over her in silence. Behind the house stood an old barn. It was large and dusty, with broken tools, faded rope, and forgotten boxes stacked in random corners. Her father had not used the barn much in his final years because he grew weaker with time. Mira rarely went inside the barn because it felt heavy with memories. The smell of old wood, the sight of worn-out tools, and the shadows inside reminded her too much of the past. She only visited it when she had to. One morning, after a night of heavy rain, Mira stepped outside to check her small garden. She noticed the barn roof dripping water from the sides. She sighed because she knew she had to fix it before the next rainfall. She gathered simple tools, tied her hair back, and walked toward the barn. The large wooden door creaked when she pushed it. Sunlight entered the dark space and revealed a thick layer of dust on the floor. Mira moved a few boxes aside, swept the floor, and tried to make space to walk around. The barn felt colder than she expected, and a strange quietness hung in the air. As she cleaned, she pulled a wooden crate from one corner. The crate slid in an unusual way, and the sound of the floor beneath it caught her attention. It did not sound solid. It sounded hollow, like something was beneath the floorboards. Mira paused and looked down. She knelt, brushed dust away with her hand, and tapped the floor with her knuckles. The hollow echo repeated itself. Her heartbeat grew a little faster because she had never heard this sound before. The barn floor had always seemed plain and ordinary. She searched for something to help her lift the boards. She found an old iron bar near the wall. She pushed the bar under the edge of one floorboard and pressed down until the wood lifted slightly. Mira continued working patiently. One by one, the boards came loose. She stacked them neatly on the side. As she removed the last board, she discovered a dark square opening in the ground. The space was deeper than she expected. She leaned forward and saw a metal object inside. It was square, heavy, and covered in soil. She wiped the dust and revealed a safe. The metal surface looked old but strong. A round handle sat in the center, and a number lock was fixed above it. Mira sat back and stared at the safe. She felt a wave of confusion. She had lived in this house since she was a child, yet she had never seen this safe or even heard her father speak about anything hidden in the barn. She wondered when he had placed it there. She wondered why he had not told her about it. She wondered what could possibly be inside. Her father had always been honest and open with her. So the idea that he hid something underground felt strange. She placed her hand on the cool metal surface. Dust stuck to her fingers. She imagined her father lowering this safe into the ground many years ago. She pictured him working quietly in the barn while the rest of the village slept. She wondered what thoughts he had during that moment. Maybe he had wanted to protect something important. Maybe he had wanted to leave a gift for her future. Maybe he had feared someone would take it away if it stayed in the open. Mira felt a mix of curiosity and worry. She tried to turn the handle, but it did not move. The number lock required a code. She searched her memory for any clue. Her father had never talked about a safe, but he had shared many small memories, lessons, and stories. Mira tried a simple number first, her own birthday. The safe did not open. She tried her father's birthday. Nothing happened. She tried the date when her mother passed away, a day that had changed both their lives. The safe remained locked. Mira sat beside it and took a slow breath. She stood up and looked around the barn. The place held many objects from her father's past. Maybe a clue lay somewhere among these items. She walked along the walls and checked shelves. She opened small drawers filled with nails and screws. She looked inside boxes with old letters and tools. Near the back of the barn, she found a wooden trunk she had never touched before. She pulled it forward, brushed off the dust, and opened the lid. Inside were neat stacks of papers, notebooks, and a few hand-drawn maps of the land around the village. Her father had drawn these maps when he was young. She flipped through the papers but found nothing about a safe. She sat on the floor again and thought about her father. He had always believed that life became heavier when people filled it with unwanted secrets. He preferred honesty and simplicity. If he had hidden a safe, then his reason must have been strong. Mira felt her heart grow warm when she remembered the last time she spoke to him. He had held her hand and told her that she must trust herself even when life became confusing. Maybe he had left something behind for her mind rather than her hands. Maybe the safe held a message more than a treasure. She rose and stepped outside the barn for a moment. The morning sun was higher now, touching the fields with a soft brightness. The fresh air calmed her. She looked back at the barn and felt a strange pull, as if her father wanted her to continue searching. She walked back inside and sat next to the safe again. She noticed a small scratch near the number lock. It looked like a line drawn by accident, but when she touched it, she felt another line next to it. The scratches formed a pattern. Mira leaned closer. It looked like 3 short groups of lines. She realized they might be clues to the number code. She counted the lines. The first group had 3. The second had 6. The third had 1. Her father had loved meaningful numbers. Mira thought about the pattern. 3, 6, 1. She slowly turned the number lock to match the sequence. Her hands shook slightly, but she continued. After setting the numbers, she gripped the handle. She pulled it gently. The safe remained locked. Mira sat back and closed her eyes. She did not feel defeated. Instead, she felt certain she was getting closer. The numbers must mean something, but maybe she had arranged them in the wrong order. Maybe they represented a date, not a code. She tried new combinations. She rearranged the numbers. She added and subtracted. She thought about important dates from her father's life. She tried the date he built the barn. She tried the date he planted the first tree in their yard. Nothing worked. Still, she refused to give up. The safe was real. The reason behind it was real. Whatever her father had protected was now her responsibility to uncover. She looked around the barn again and realized that this place held more secrets than she expected. She knew one thing with certainty. Her father had not left her with nothing. He had left her with a mystery, hidden beneath the floor, waiting for her hands to open it. Morning light touched the village slowly as Mira stood near the open barn door. She felt calm for the first time in many days. The papers inside the safe had changed her life. They had shown a side of her father she never knew. They had also given her responsibilities she never expected. The barn no longer felt like a forgotten place. It felt like the beginning of something new. The letter from her father stayed close to her heart. She kept reading it again and again during the night. Each line carried care. Each word carried trust. He had left her a plan for her future, but he had given her complete freedom to choose her path. He wanted her to decide with her own mind, just as he had taught her. The sun rose higher while she prepared a simple breakfast. She placed bread on a wooden plate and boiled tea in a clay pot. She ate slowly as she thought. Her father had hidden the safe because he wished to protect her while she grew stronger. Now he was gone, and she had found everything he saved for her. He had asked her to use it for good and to stay true to her values. It was not just money or land. It was the chance to help others the way he once helped her mother and many people in their village. Mira knew her village well. Many families worked hard but earned very little. Some children left school early to help their parents. Some elders had no one to support them. The village roads were cracked. The fields needed proper tools. The well near the market was old and needed repair. These problems had been present for years, but no one had the strength or courage to face them. Now she had the means to make a change. She felt both excited and nervous. She knew that using the inheritance wisely was more important than using it quickly. She needed to think carefully about her next step. She finished her tea and walked outside. A soft wind moved through the trees. She took a deep breath and went toward the village center. On the way she met Aaron, her quiet friend who worked at the grain store. He looked surprised to see her out so early. He asked if everything was well. Mira replied that she wished to talk to the village head about some ideas. Aaron smiled in support. He told her she had always been thoughtful and brave, even when she did not feel so. His encouragement gave her strength. The village head, an old man named Ramon, sat on a wooden bench near the market. He looked up as Mira approached. She greeted him and asked if he had time to discuss an important matter. He nodded kindly and invited her to sit. She started by telling him she had discovered something in her barn, something left by her father that could help the village. She did not mention exact details, but she explained she had the ability to support community projects. Ramon listened with careful eyes. He remembered her father well and trusted his character deeply. Myra suggested small steps. She wanted to repair the village well first, so everyone could have clean water. She wanted to help children stay in school by providing simple supplies. She also wished to fix the main road leading to the fields so farmers could move their crops safely. Ramon was surprised by her thoughtfulness. He had heard many people talk about change, but he had rarely seen someone willing to act. Ramon said he would gather the elders for a meeting in the afternoon so Mira could share her plans. She thanked him and walked home with a steady heartbeat. She felt her father's presence with each step she took. She imagined him standing beside her, smiling quietly as she worked toward something meaningful. At home, she opened the safe once more. The papers inside were arranged neatly. The bonds, the letters from people her father had helped, and the maps he had drawn of the village lands all felt like gifts. Each item held purpose. She took out the folder that had her father's notes about the land near the river. In the notes, he had written ideas for future farming, including a small area that could be turned into a training field for young workers. Mira paused as she read. She liked the idea. She hoped she could bring it to life one day. She placed the folder back in the safe and locked it carefully. Then she changed her clothes and prepared for the village meeting. She wore a simple dress her father had given her long ago. Wearing it made her feel calm and confident. She tied her hair neatly and stepped outside once more. By afternoon, the village elders were waiting near. The big tree in the center of the village, a group of families stood nearby, curious about the gathering. Ramon welcomed Mira and asked her to stand before everyone. She felt nervous but remembered her father's lessons. He always said that truth spoken with kindness travels far. She began by telling the villagers that her father had cared for them deeply. He had helped many quietly, without expecting anything in return. She had discovered his last gift, and she hoped to continue his spirit of kindness. She explained her ideas again, clearly and respectfully. She wanted the community to grow together. She wanted everyone to benefit, not just a few. The villagers listened silently. Many of them had respected her father and felt grateful that Mira wished to follow his path. Some elders asked questions about the well and the road. Mira answered them patiently. A few younger villagers offered to volunteer for work. She felt encouraged by their support. After a long discussion, Ramon stood up and announced that the village accepted Mira's plan. He said they would begin the first project by repairing the well. People clapped softly, and Mira felt relief wash over her. She thanked them with a steady voice. The meeting ended with warm smiles and hopeful conversations. That evening she walked back home slowly. The sky was turning orange, and birds were flying toward their nests. She entered the barn again and sat near the safe. She touched its surface and whispered a quiet thank you to her father. She knew he had trusted her to find her own direction. She knew he had believed she would choose right. For the next few weeks, the village worked together. Myra joined them every day. The well was cleaned, strengthened, and fitted with a new rope and bucket system. Children laughed as they watched the work being done. Elders felt comfort knowing they would have clean water again. Mira stayed by their side, helping where she could. The villagers appreciated her kindness and hard work. Once the well project was finished, Myra moved to the next idea. She purchased simple school supplies and delivered them to the small village school. The teacher, a woman named Rena, welcomed her with gratitude. The children were excited to receive notebooks and pencils. Mira felt joy seeing their bright smiles. She believed that helping them learn was an investment in the future of the village. Slowly, the road project also began. Farmers cheered as they saw the cracked path being repaired. They knew it would help them transport their crops more safely. Myra often stood nearby and watched the workers with a sense of pride. She did not seek praise. Watching the improvements in her village was more than enough. Months passed and the village changed in meaningful ways. People trusted one another more. They worked together more often. Mira became a gentle guide in the community, though she never claimed any title. She simply did what she felt was right. One quiet evening, she went to the riverbank with Aaron. They watched the water move peacefully. Aaron asked if she planned to build something near the river, as her father had suggested in his notes. Mira smiled and said she hoped to build a training field for young workers, so they could learn skills that would help them in the future. Aaron nodded with respect. He believed her ideas would help many families for years to come. As the sun set, Mira felt calm and strong. She thought about her father. People had said he left her nothing, but the truth was very different. He had left her trust, love, wisdom, and opportunity. He had left her the chance to bring change. He had left her a safe full of hope. Mira walked home with the warm feeling that she was no longer alone. Her father's memory guided her, and her village stood beside her. The safe beneath the barn floor had been hidden for many years, but its purpose was now complete. It had revealed not only a legacy, but also the strength inside her heart. Mira stepped into her house, lit a small lamp, and whispered a gentle promise to herself. She would continue to protect her village. She would continue to honor her father. She would continue to walk on the path of kindness he had left for her. The galaxy was wide and filled with countless worlds, yet very few of them lived in peaceful harmony like the planet Nero's. Nero's was a calm and gentle world, covered with silver lakes, tall green forests, and shining stone villages. The people of Nero's lived simple lives. They farmed, studied, and celebrated nature. Their history had no major wars, and their past carried stories of kindness rather than fear. So when a strange danger appeared, they were completely unprepared. The danger came quietly in the beginning. Farmers heard deep sounds from the forest at night. Hunters noticed large footprints that did not match any known animal. Children reported seeing dark shapes moving between trees. At first, the leaders of Nero's thought it was only a natural shift in the forest. They believed new animals might be crossing from another region. But soon attacks began. A group of travelers disappeared on a path near the northern woods. A watchtower was found destroyed with no sign of struggle. The forest itself started to change. The trees turned darker, as if touched by shadows. And then the beasts showed themselves. They were huge creatures shaped like nightmares. Their bodies were made of dark smoke mixed with solid muscle. Their eyes glowed bright, not with fire, but with cold and sharp light. They moved silently and struck quickly. No weapon of Nero's could harm them. Swords passed through their smoky bodies. Arrows fell harmlessly. Even their bravest guards failed to stand against these creatures. Fear spread through Nero's faster than any wind. The leaders called an emergency meeting in the central hall, a large round building made of white stone. All the elders, scholars, and protectors gathered. Some argued to lock down the cities. Others suggested evacuating villages near the forest. After hours of discussion, one idea remained. They needed help from outside their world. They needed someone stronger than themselves, so the call for aid was prepared and sent into space. It was a simple message asking for rescue from any powerful civilization willing to help. The people of Nero's believed someone in the galaxy would answer. They believed strength would come. However, days passed with silence, then weeks. Their hope fell lower with each sunrise. Many larger empires heard the message, but chose not to respond. Some feared the shadow beasts. Others believed Nero's was too far to bother with. The peaceful planet waited, but the galaxy turned away, just when the leaders were ready to give up. The sky above Nero's flashed with a small light. A ship broke through the clouds. It was not large or decorated like the ships of famous empires. It was a simple transport ship, white with blue stripes and a symbol of Earth on its side. The people gathered near the landing area, unsure what to expect. Stories about Earth existed in old texts, but no one truly knew much about humans. The ramp of the ship lowered. The crowd leaned forward. They expected tall warriors or armored fighters. Instead, a young human man stepped out in a simple uniform. His name was Rion. He had calm eyes and a confident posture. Walking beside him was a large dog with strong shoulders. Behind the dog came a tall horse with a dark mane. On the horse's left side walked a clever monkey who moved with quick curiosity. A hawk perched gracefully on a small metal stand that Rion held. The people of Nero stared with wide eyes. This was not what they expected. They had called for saviors. They imagined elite soldiers with energy weapons. They imagined powerful machines and massive ships. Instead, Earth had sent a human accompanied by animals. The leaders stepped forward politely. They asked Rion why Earth had responded in this way. Rion listened carefully before answering. He explained that Earth believed strength did not always come from weapons or machines. Sometimes it came from nature itself. The animals with him were specially trained to assist, protect, search, track, and fight when needed. They were not ordinary creatures. They understood signals, teamwork, and danger. The dog was named Moro. He had strong legs and quick reflexes. His sense of smell could detect hidden threats. His loyalty made him fearless. The horse was named Lano. He could travel fast, even through rough ground. He was steady in any situation and could carry supplies or people if needed. The monkey was Piku. He was skilled in climbing, finding paths, and solving simple problems. The hawk was Sira. Her sharp eyes could see far distances and detect movement from high in the sky. Some people in the crowd smiled at the sight of the animals. Others whispered with worry. How could animals help against giant shadow beasts made of darkness? The leaders exchanged uncertain looks. They admired Earth's courage but doubted the success of this small team. Rian placed a hand on Moro's back and spoke with respect. He said Earth believed that life forms of every kind held their own power. These animals had saved many villages on Earth during disasters, wild animal attacks, and dangerous hunts. They were a unit of trust built through patience and training. Earth sent them, not because it lacked human soldiers, but because it believed that nature could help nature. The leaders of Nero's had no better choice. They accepted Rion's help and led him toward the northern forest where the danger began. The closer they got, the darker the trees appeared. The air felt heavy. There was no sound of birds or small animals. Even the wind moved quietly, as if afraid to disturb anything. Rion studied the forest carefully. Moro lowered his head and sniffed the air. His tail stiffened. Piku climbed on Delano's back and looked around with wide eyes. Sira spread her wings and prepared to take flight at Rion's signal. They walked slowly into the forest. The ground was damp. Strange marks scratched the soil. Broken branches hung from trees. Everything felt wrong, almost unnatural. Rion moved quietly, letting the animals sense ahead of him. Moro growled softly, warning him that something close was watching. Behind them, the leaders of Nero's stopped. They did not dare to go farther. They told Rion they would wait at a safe distance. They trusted him, but the forest had become too frightening for them. Rion nodded and continued deeper with his team. As the light faded under the tall trees, Rion began to understand why the people of Nero's were afraid. The forest felt alive with silent movement. Shadows shifted even when nothing was there. The deeper they went, the clearer the signs became. The beasts lived near the heart of the forest. Their dark prints were now visible on the ground. Large impressions left by heavy bodies, claw marks on tree bark, the smell of cold air mixed with a strange smoky scent. Moro stopped suddenly. His body stiffened and his ears pointed straight ahead. Piku climbed higher onto a branch. Sira flew upward and circled silently. Lano stood firm like a tower. Rion placed his hand on Moro's head and whispered calming words. They stepped forward as one unit. A low sound rumbled through the forest. It was deep and heavy, like a slow heartbeat rising from the ground. The trees around them shook slightly. Rion held his breath. The animals stood ready. A shape appeared between the trees. It was huge, dark, and shifting, like black mist wrapped around muscle. Two bright eyes stared at them. A shadow beast had arrived. Rion did not step back. Moro took one step forward, showing courage that surprised even the wind. The beast moved slowly, studying them. It had never seen creatures like these. It had never seen a dog stand without fear. This was the moment when the people of Nero's would learn whether Earth's creatures were truly saviors or just a small hope in a dark time. The forest held its breath as the first confrontation prepared to begin. Mira held the notebook with both hands as if it were made of glass. The simple cover felt warm from her touch. She looked at the first sentence again. For Mira, when she is ready. Her father had written these words many years ago, yet it felt as if he were speaking to her now. She sat on the dusty barn floor and opened the next page with slow care. Every page might carry something important. Every word might explain why he had hidden the safe beneath the barn floor. The second page started with a short line in her father's writing. Mira, I know life will test you. Then came a longer message. He wrote about how he had watched her grow from a child into a thoughtful young woman. He wrote that he had always believed she would face challenges bravely. He explained that the world sometimes hid heavy truths inside simple moments, and that a person needed patience to see them clearly. As Mira read, her chest tightened with emotion. She remembered the way her father used to speak. Calm words, gentle tone, simple but meaningful thoughts. He always said that understanding came slowly, but stayed forever once found. She turned the page again. He began telling a story she had never heard. A story about himself when he was young. Long before he moved to the village, long before he built the house. He wrote that he had once worked for a man who owned large pieces of land far away from here. The man was strict but fair, and he trusted her father with important tasks. Over time, the man treated her father like a friend instead of a worker. When the man grew old, he called her father to his bedside. He said he wanted to leave something safe with him, something not everyone would understand, something only a person with a calm heart should protect. Mira's eyes widened as she read. She never knew her father had such a past. She never imagined he had been trusted with anything precious. According to the notebook, the old man had given her father a wooden box. The same box that now lay beside the safe, wrapped in cloth. Her father wrote that the old man told him to guard it until he found someone worthy of it. Mira paused and stared at the box. It looked ordinary, but her father's words made it feel different. Almost powerful. She had not opened it yet because she wanted to understand everything first. She placed her hand gently on top of it, continued reading. Her father wrote that he moved to the village soon after he received the box. He wanted a fresh beginning. He wanted to create a quiet and honest life. He wanted a place where he could raise a family in peace. He wrote about meeting Myra's mother. He wrote about their early struggles and how they built the house together. He wrote about their happiness when Myra was born. Then the writing grew deeper. He explained that the old man's gift was something that could change the future of whoever held it. It was not gold. It was not money. It was something that gave knowledge, guidance, and understanding. He believed that only a person who was strong on the inside could use it wisely. He wrote that he had decided long ago that he would give it to Myra one day, but only when she showed signs that she was ready. Mira closed the notebook for a moment and looked down at her hands. Had she shown those signs? She was not sure. She did not think she was special in any way. She worked simple jobs in the village. She lived a quiet life. But maybe her father had seen something in her that she could not see in herself. She breathed slowly and opened the notebook again. The next pages were filled with more personal memories. He wrote about moments they had shared. Her first steps, her first day learning letters. The day she helped him plant the tree in the yard. Her father described her as a child who noticed small things others ignored. A child who listened more than she spoke. A child who loved honesty. He believed these qualities made her ready for responsibility when the right moment came. Then Mira reached a page that made her heart stop. Her father wrote about the reason he hid the safe. He explained that people in the village were honest but curious. Some people might search for the wrong reasons if they knew he had something valuable. So he buried the safe beneath the barn floor. He wrote that when Mira found it, she would already have the patience and strength needed to understand what was inside. Reading those words felt like hearing his voice again. She could almost picture him smiling while writing them. She wiped a tear from her cheek. She missed him more than ever, but she also felt his guidance around her as if he stood beside her. She turned another page. This time she found a warning. Her father wrote that whatever was inside the wooden box would only help if she approached it with a calm heart. If she felt angry, scared, or confused, she should wait before opening it. She looked at the box again. She placed her hand over her chest. Her heartbeat was fast, but steady. She felt curious, but her curiosity came from trust, not fear. She continued reading until she reached the final written page. There, her father had left a message that made her emotional again. He wrote that he believed she would grow into a person who would bring light to others. He wrote that she had inherited kindness from her mother and patience from him. He wrote that no matter what she found, she must always remember she was never alone. Even after his passing, he believed his guidance would reach her through the choices she made. The last line said something simple, yet powerful. Mira, open the box only when your heart feels balanced. She closed the notebook gently. She sat quietly for a long time, letting the words settle inside her mind. She looked around the barn. The dust, the old tools, the quiet air, everything felt different now. This was no longer just a place of old memories. It was a place where her father had planned her future long before she understood it. She lifted the wooden box and placed it in front of her. The cloth wrapped around it was tied with a simple knot. She hesitated for a moment and reminded herself of her father's warning. Was her heart balanced? She closed her eyes and listened to her breathing. She felt calm. She felt steady. She felt a quiet strength in her chest. She nodded gently to herself. With slow hands, she untied the cloth and removed it. The wooden box beneath was smooth and dark in color. It looked beautiful in a simple way. She touched the lid, then took a breath and opened it. Inside lay several items, each arranged with care. The first item she noticed was a small stone shaped like a smooth oval. It had strange lines carved into it. The second item was a folded map with hand-drawn markings. The third item was a bundle of letters tied with thin rope. Mira reached for the letters first. They were addressed to her father, written in neat handwriting she did not recognize. She placed them aside and lifted the map. It showed a large piece of land she had never seen before. The markings circled certain areas. There were symbols drawn beside each circle, but she could not understand their meaning yet. Then she looked at the small carved stone again. She held it in her palm. It felt warm, almost as if it held energy inside. The carvings were simple but purposeful. She turned it around, and on the back she found a single symbol. A shape that looked like a rising sun. Mira realized something important. Everything inside the box connected to her father's past and the old man he had worked for. She needed to understand their meaning. She needed time to study each item carefully. This box did not hold treasure. It held knowledge. It held truth. It held a path her father believed she would walk when she was ready. Mira packed the items back into the box. They stood up and closed the safe gently. She placed the wooden boards back into their place, knowing she would return soon. As she stepped outside the barn, the sun touched her face. She felt lighter, yet stronger. She felt as if her father had just handed her a key to her own future. The morning after the long night of waiting brought a quiet calm to the planet. Nero's soft sunlight touched the roofs of houses and turned the white stone streets warm. Birds from the nearby valley began to sing again. The people of Nero stepped outside with careful steps. Their world had changed so much, and they stood between fear and hope. Everyone wondered what would happen now that the shadow beasts had finally fallen back into the deep forest. Rian woke early and checked on every creature. The dog rested with calm breathing, curled near the door of the village hall. The monkey slept with its arms around a small blanket someone had given it. The horse stood outside, strong and silent as always, looking toward the green hills. The hawk sat steady on its stand, eyes sharp even after a long night. They were tired, but they were safe. Rian felt proud of them. The leaders of Nero's arrived with respect shining in their eyes. They asked Rian if the threat was truly gone. Rian stayed honest. He explained that the shadow beasts had lost their ground and their leader had fallen, but they still needed time to understand if any danger remained. He wanted to explore the far side of the forest to make sure. Every path was safe. The leaders agreed and sent guides who knew every corner of the land. They packed food, clean water, and healing herbs for Rian and his team. The people watched together as Rian placed a soft strap around the dog and checked the horse's saddle. The monkey climbed on Rian's shoulder and held his collar with tiny hands. The hawk spread its wings as if ready for a new mission. Their journey began as the village gates opened. The path led through tall grass and gentle hills. Nero's was a beautiful world filled with bright plants and clear rivers. The creatures from Earth walked calmly, each step steady. The guides wondered how such simple animals carried so much confidence. They had expected warriors, but what Earth had sent carried something different. It carried trust, teamwork, and courage. As they reached the deep forest, the air grew cooler. Sunlight broke through tree branches in bright lines. The dog walked ahead and smelled the ground with slow care. Every time it growled softly, Rian paused and studied the area. The horse stayed behind Rian, ready to block him from danger. The monkey climbed trees with ease and sent signals when it found something strange. The hawk flew above them in wide circles and guided their steps from the sky. After hours of exploring, they found a large cave hidden behind thick vines. Marks on the ground showed that the shadow beasts had used this place often. Rian moved forward, but stayed cautious. He placed his hand on the dog's back to keep it calm. The hawk flew ahead and rested on a tall rock. The monkey pointed toward the cave and waited for Rian's sign. The guides watched nervously from behind the horse. The inside of the cave was dark but peaceful. No sound echoed through it. There were old marks on the walls showing that the creatures once lived here in large numbers. Rian studied everything carefully. He believed the beasts had returned to the deeper side of the forest, where they belonged. They were not meant to harm others. They had been forced out of their home due to unknown reasons, which made them behave in ways they normally would not. When they completed their search, the guides seemed relieved. They returned with good news. They told the leaders that the land was safe again, and that the threat had faded. The people of Nero celebrated in the central square that night. Soft lanterns hung from tall trees and warm music filled the air. The creatures from Earth were surrounded by children who brought flowers and fruits as gifts. Rian stood quietly with a simple smile, happy to see peace return to this planet. That night, the leaders invited Rian to the Grand Hall. They thanked him for saving their world. Their voices were filled with gratitude. They explained how many nights they had lived in fear and how many times they had believed no help would come. Rian listened with respect. He told them that Earth believed in helping those who asked with sincere hearts. The leaders presented him with a crystal sphere that glowed softly. It was a symbol of honor from Nero's. They told him that this gift was given only to those who restored hope. Rian accepted it with deep humility. He said that the true heroes were not only him, but the creatures that stood with him and fought without fear. The next morning, Rian prepared for departure. The ship from Earth waited in the field outside the village. The dog walked beside him proudly. The horse followed with strong steps. The monkey climbed into the ship excitedly. The hawk flew around the ship before landing on its usual metal stand, before the doors closed. The people of Nero's gathered around. They wanted to give a proper farewell. Children waved small flags and held baskets of flowers. Elders held their hands together in thanks. The leaders stepped forward and promised that the story of Earth's creatures would be remembered for generations. In their history books, this event would be written as the moment hope returned from the stars. Rian promised that if Nero's ever needed help again, Earth would answer. Not with giant armies, but with those who held true courage. He believed that what saved Nero's was not strength alone, but the unity between human and creature. They worked together, trusted each other, and moved as one. As the ship lifted into the sky, the people watched with warm hearts. They saw a new future unfolding. A future where distant worlds helped each other instead of turning away. A future where courage came in many shapes and sizes. A future shaped not only by humans, but by the creatures that walked beside them. Inside the ship, Rian looked out at the planet one last time. The dog rested its head on his knee. The horse stood calmly with a peaceful breath. The monkey sat near the window watching the shrinking landscape. The hawk kept its wings close and stayed alert. They had completed their mission. They had arrived as unexpected helpers and left as honored saviors. Rian felt proud of them. He knew that this team had proven something important to the galaxy. They proved that heroes did not always come in shining armor or mighty ships. Sometimes heroes came with loyal hearts, steady steps, sharp eyes, and silent strength. As stars filled the window and Nero's grew smaller behind them, Rian thought about the next planet that might need help. He believed Earth would always answer, because that was their way. They believed in standing with others during their darkest hours. They believed courage could travel far. They believed hope could come from any corner of the universe. The ship moved deeper into space, carrying Rian and his faithful creatures toward new adventures. Their journey continued, and their story became one of the best tales told among the stars. A tale of simple beings who stood against great danger. A tale of trust and teamwork. A tale of Earth's creatures who answered a call when the galaxy remained silent.